John's getting my camera set up for me, so as soon as he gives me the thumbs up, we will get started. Make sure you tell your friends that this is airing right now. Share it with your groups so that we can get as many people as we can tuned in. John's messing with the phone right now, which is a camera. Isn't that amazing? Your phone's a camera. And John's checking, and we're ready to go. Okay, good. Hey, folks, welcome. I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Glad you're here today. We're going to talk today about what sugar does to your body. Now, if you're new to the show, the way this works is I'm going to talk for 24 minutes. Whatever platform you're on, we're on streaming on a bunch of different platforms right now. That's why I have to have different cameras. You can write down any health question you have. John, my producer, is going to read me the question at the 24-minute break. I'll answer your question, and then we're going to do another 24 minutes, and I'll answer more questions as well. This is an amazing opportunity for you to have one-on-one, essentially consultation, to find out if there's an answer to your health problems. And I usually have an answer. If I don't, I'll tell you. I don't know that. So, all right, John, I'm ready to start whenever you are. Got to get our little timer set up. Ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. Glad you're with me today. We're going to talk today about what happens when you eat sugar. How much damage occurs when you eat sugar? Now, sugar is sweet. Of course, we like that. Now, there are foods we call whole foods, not the store, but whole foods like fruits, vegetables, whole grains. They have sugars in them, but they also have fiber, and they have phytonutrients, and they have other things that offset the damage from the sugar and actually can be beneficial. Now, if you're drinking plain old sugar, that's where the problem comes in, or eating plain old sugar. Added sugars don't have the phytonutrients. They don't have the antioxidants. They don't have the fiber to counteract the damage. So if I'm going to eat an apple, that's great. If I'm going to have a glass of apple juice, not a good idea. Because the apple, again, has the fiber and the phytonutrients. It slowly pushes the sugar through your colon. You get a slow release of sugar. The sugar goes into the blood. Brain sends a message to the pancreas. Hey, there's some sugar out here. What do, pancreas? Pancreas releases insulin. Insulin goes into the cells and acts like a key. So it fits into the cell and opens up the cell to allow sugar in. That's how insulin works. Now, if you eat too much sugar, we're going to cover this a little later, but I'll give you a little spoiler alert. Too much sugar, you release a lot of insulin. The insulin's trying to open up these cells and let all the sugar into the cells. Well, the cell says, wait a minute. I can't take any more sugar. I'm full. So it resists the insulin. It says to the insulin, I'm not going to let you open me up and let the sugar in because more sugar in the cell is going to gunk up the works. And that's what we call insulin resistance. That might be a term you've heard before. Another term for insulin resistance, if it gets bad enough, is type 2 diabetes. So the cells don't want too much sugar. They want just enough. And the insulin works to open it up and let them in. Now, if you're eating a lot of seed oils, I talk a lot about seed oils lately, don't I? Corn oil, cottonseed oil, canola oil, soy, vegetable oils. These oils can clog up the keyhole. Again, this is very simply put. Clog up the keyhole so the insulin can't get in to open the cell up. So now the sugar's floating around in your blood, raising your blood sugar, and that becomes a problem too. So when it comes to diabetes, sugar can be bad. Sugar can raise your blood insulin, and then the insulin can be too much insulin creates insulin resistance, and the blood sugar goes up, and you've got high blood sugar, type 2 diabetes. The seed oils, in many studies, are now showing to be worse than too much sugar. Now, everybody responds differently, of course, but the seed oils are so dangerous on so many different levels, including your blood sugar levels. So I really, really, really want you to stay away from those seed oils, the corn oil, canola oil, soybean oil, safflower oil. Now, sunflower oil, let's say, for example. I can eat sunflowers and they're fine. But when I have to get the oil out, I use usually high temperatures, chemicals. We extract it. The oil may be stink, so we have to deodorize it. We have to clarify it. And so it's the processing of the oils that are bad. If I was going to eat organic edamame, which is soybeans, perfectly fine. But if I have to extract that oil out of it, that's when it becomes a problem. So it's the processing of the oils that's so bad. Canola oil comes from a rapeseed, and it's a plant, and so you wouldn't eat that anyway, but in the processing, that's where it becomes the big issue. But again, today's not about oils, today's about sugar. So how much is too much? How much sugar can you get? Well, according to the American Heart Association, no more than 6 teaspoons a day for women and 9 teaspoons a day for men. What does 9 teaspoons look like? If you have a can of soda, regular can of soda, that's going to have about 10 teaspoons in it. So that's more sugar than you should eat for the entire day. How many people, raise your hands, I can't see you, how many people have sugar every day? A lot of you. How many people have soda every day? A lot of you. And so this is an ongoing assault on your body, on your immune system. I saw an article the other day that said sugar attacks the white, well, it doesn't attack the white blood cells, but it lowers your body's immune system. And it works very similar to prednisone. Prednisone lowers your immune system so that your body doesn't have these adverse reactions. Now, I don't know if that's a fact. I just read it in an article. But I understand the principle behind it. And the principle is it's going to weaken your immune system too. So when you're sick, or it's wintertime, you're around sick other people, and you have a chance to get sick, you're eating a lot of sugar, you're creating an environment, weakening the immune system, that is great for viruses, germs, bacteria to set up shop and then become a problem. So sugar is not good for the immune system, and most of us are doing way more than 6 or 9 teaspoons a day. Like I said, just one can of soda blows that out. So one of the things it can do, of course, it can make you gain weight. So the way it works when you eat a lot of sugar is this. Your body uses glucose as a fuel. So if I'm going to look at plain old table sugar, white table sugar, it's 50% fructose, 50% glucose. So the glucose can be used right away by my body. That's when you're in a hospital, they give you glucose intravenously. They don't give you fructose, they don't give you maltose, galactose, they give you glucose because that's the fuel your body can use. If I'm eating something like fructose or galactose or any other type of sugar. Anything with OSE on the end, by the way, is a sugar. So I'm going to eat fructose. The fructose has to be converted into glucose. And then the glucose is used by the cells. So let's assume that all my cells have enough glucose. I say, all right, I'm done. I can't take any more. So your body says, I can't have this glucose floating around in the blood. What do I do with it? I'm going to take that glucose and convert it into glycogen. Glycogen is stored fuel. It's stored sugar is all it is. It's your reserve tank in your body. Now, what happens when all my reserve tank is filled up? What happens when all the spaces that glycogen can be stored is filled up? Your liver, your muscles. Glycogen can't produce anymore. No place to store it. So now your body says, wait a minute, you keep eating sugar, Joe. What am I going to do with this sugar? Goes back to the liver, converts it into triglycerides, which then gets stored as fat. So that's the chemical process of why sugar makes you fat. And if you're using your sugar, if you're utilizing that glucose, the cells can use more. It just keeps taking more and more in. It's a good thing. If you go beyond your stores of glucose, let's assume I'm going to go for a run. I don't run. I don't like running. But if you're going to go for a run, you're going to go for a hike, you're going to start to fast. Your body will use all the glucose it can in the blood. And then it says, okay, I still need glucose. What do? I turn to my glycogen stores. I'm going to use glycogen as my backup fuel. And then I use up all my glycogen stores. What happens then? Then I can start burning fat. That's why exercise is really not a good source of weight loss. It's good. It's good for you, and it can build muscle. Muscle burns more fat, so that's good, burns more calories. But exercise itself, you have to exercise a lot to burn up a few calories because you use up the glucose, then you use up the glycogen. Again, if you're really doing heavy, intense exercises, that's when you go into fat burning. Now, I'm not saying don't exercise. There's a lot of benefits to it. But if you're going to say, I'm going to exercise and lose weight, the chances are that's not going to happen. The best way to lose weight is putting less calories into your body than you're burning. I know that sounds pretty elementary, but that's how it works. And that's why fasting is a good idea. Because you use up the glucose, then you start burning the glycogen, and you're not putting that glucose back in, so you're not storing more fat. And then eventually you can get to the fat stores. So understanding what weight loss is really the key. If I'm taking these medications, and by the way, I'm going to do a show and a podcast on this very, very shortly, on these drugs that people are doing, the GLP-1 agonists, and how it works, why it works. Will you lose weight? Absolutely. Will you have side effects? Absolutely. But then I'm going to discuss what you can do naturally to make that same process happen. That happens when you take these GLP-1 agonists. Because you lose your appetite. You just don't eat. The danger of that is that I've had a lot of people taking this stuff come to me, and they're going into malnutrition. because they're not eating anything or eating very little. And what they do eat is not healthy foods many times. I'm feeling great. I'm losing weight. Now's a good time for a cookie. I'm losing weight. I'm feeling great. Now's a good time for margarita. Well, not good choices. So we're going to lay that out for you. Upcoming shows. I want to give you a little tease there. 1 in 10 Americans gets a fourth or more of their daily calories from sugar. Isn't that amazing? 1 in 10 of us are getting 25% of all our calories just from processed sugar. Now, if you eat that much, there was a study shows that you're twice as likely to have heart disease than someone who eats less. So when I see people have heart attacks, usually I know why. When I see somebody have a stroke, usually I know why. Now, there are genetic flaws that can happen. I understand that. But those are the minority, not the majority of cases. Most of the things we deal with are self-induced. And the number one killer in the United States, heart disease, diabetes, cancer, it's diet. You did it to yourself. And it hurts me when I see people do that. Every time I go to a grocery store and I see people on these little electric scooters, many times I look at them, and now there are disabilities. I'm not taking that away. Please understand. But most of the time, I look in their cart and I see what they're eating. And it's the cookies and the cakes and the donuts and the ice cream and the breads and the margarines and the butters and the sodas. I know why they're there. They did it to themselves. And that's very hard to admit. It's hard to admit you did something wrong. But a lot of people do. I've been in practice 40 years. I've treated countless people. And when somebody's willing to say, Dr. Joe, I'm wrong, what do I got to do to make it right? I give them protocols. They follow it. I can't say it always works, but I've never seen it not work. And they say, why didn't I do this sooner? Why didn't somebody come to me and tell me that this is what I needed to do? Because being overweight's hard. Being sick is hard. Losing weight is hard too. So you just have to decide what you want to do in life. What's more difficult? Losing the weight or gaining the weight and not being able to do the things you want to do? Having increase your risk of heart disease, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, strokes, erectile dysfunction, digestive issues. It's hard to have those, isn't it? Well, you can decide what's more difficult and then take that route. That's what's kind of cool about this. We talked about diabetes already because it creates that insulin resistance. And that concerns me, but the seed oils are worse. Now, what if you're eating seed oils and sugar? How might you find seed oil and sugar in the same food? How about breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, all the things that are fun and tasty are also usually the most toxic. But here's what's going to happen. When you start cutting out the sugar, brain works better, body works better, bowels work better, sex life improves. And you're going to get used to it. And that becomes your new norm. And then you're going to cheat. You're going to be out, you're going to have a piece of cake, whatever it is, a soda, a margarita, and you're going to go, this is just too sweet. Now, at this point, you can't imagine that happening. You can't fathom in your wildest dreams that your favorite food, a cookie, a cake, a brownie, a donut, a margarita, is going to be too sweet in your life. It will. Because your taste buds change, and that's what's good about this. You have the ability to overcome this whole mess. And it's so much cheaper to be healthy than it is to be sick. I always say that discount ice cream that you bought is way more expensive than if you bought it at full price. Because the heart disease, the diabetes, cancer, the Alzheimer's, the Parkinson's, the hardening of the arteries, the weight gain, the fatigue, all these things happen, and it's not worth it. And that's what I do. It took me long. I've been eating well for about 39 years now. But I remember what's going to motivate me? What's going to do this for me? And I remember thinking, is this worth it? And the answer is always no. It's not worth it. And that's why I want you to get healthy. I want you to think about what it's going to take to put together a wellness plan for myself. Sugar, of course, is one of the predominant foods in our diet, but it's also one that we have control over. Once you break that habit, it's easy. So when I talk about a healthcare plan, I want a normally functioning nervous system, normally functioning digestive system, and good nutrition. If you can give me those three things, the chances of you getting better are exponentially higher. And unfortunately, that's very seldom taught or discussed in healthcare. So let's talk about pain for a second. If you have neck pain, back pain, shoulder pain, sciatica, numbness, tingling, let's do the most effective, least expensive treatment for that. What's the most effective, least expensive treatment for pain? Chiropractic care. If you haven't been to a chiropractor and you have pain, you need to go. And chances are very high that you're going to say, why didn't I do this sooner? Now, there's good ones and there's bad ones, of course. I know that. But if you'd like to make an appointment in my office, we have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb in the Atlanta area. Go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. You can book an appointment right online. Normally, the first visit is $940. For you, my listeners, I've reduced that to $299. That's an exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays on your follow-up visit, and a complete nutrition evaluation. I believe that if you're going to have total health, normally functioning nervous system, normally functioning digestive system, good nutrition. Now, you don't have to take all three. We can just do chiropractic. We can do just nutrition, whatever it is. We just work on your digestive system. But major majority of patients that come to see us want it all. Dr. Joe, I've listened to you for 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 40 years, and I want to do what you say. Tell me what to do. When a patient comes in with that attitude, it's usually very easy to get them the results that they're looking for. So, drjoe.com, $299 for the first visit, exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, nutrition evaluation. Book it online, drjoe.com. For future care, we accept almost all insurances. Medicare. We're on the VA list. If the Veterans Administration refers you to us, they pay for your treatment. I teach other doctors about car accidents and sports injuries. So if you're in a car accident, come see us. Don't get duped. You're going to get phone calls. Hey, come see this doctor. Come see this lawyer. It's a scam. I don't care how good they sound on the phone. If somebody's trying to coerce you to go to a doctor or a lawyer, it's a scam. It's illegal. It's a felony. Don't do it. If we don't have an office near you that's convenient, email me, drjoe.com. Send me an email through the website. I will try to find you a doctor in your area. I can't promise you I can, but I'm going to do everything I can to find you a good doctor in your area because I don't want to, I call it wasting a patient. I don't want a patient to not get care just because they can't come to see us. If you're near us, I'd love to see you. But if not, I want to work with you. drjoe.com. And that website, by the way, has over 4,000 hours of content. So search the website, spend some time on the website, type in whatever you're looking for, diabetes, heart disease, weight loss, men's health, women's health, whatever it is, chances are we've done a show on it. If not, or if you still have a question, send me your questions through the website, drjoe.com. I want to be your doctor. I really do. I want to get you well, and I want to keep you well. Be sure to follow me on social media. It's Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. We post every single day. You're going to get a health tip from me. So make sure you follow me. It's very important. If you're a podcast junkie, it's Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. Go to your podcast service. Listen to our podcast. So we have podcasts. We have social media. We have the website. You can send me emails directly through drjoe.com. I don't know how to make it easier for you. I don't know how to put together a wellness plan without you participating at least a little bit. So drjoe.com, please do that. We're talking about the dangers of sugar, and one of them is high blood pressure. Most people think about high blood pressure and salt, but sugar actually is just as bad, if not worse. A lot of researchers say that sugar is the issue, and one way to believe sugar raises blood pressure is by making your insulin levels spike. Once again, you eat sugar, the brain says, ooh, there's a lot of sugar in the blood, let's raise the insulin levels. That makes your blood vessels less flexible, and so they're not able to expand to let the blood flow through it. That's one of the reasons Dr. Joe's nitric oxide support is my third favorite supplement. Nitric oxide support is citrulline. It converts into nitric oxide, and it opens up your blood vessels. Increases circulation, lowers your blood pressure, increases circulation. Where? Your heart, your lungs, your liver, your spleen, your sex organs, your brain. I'm a huge fan of taking nitric oxide support. Now, if you have low blood pressure, don't take it. It can make your blood pressure even lower. But if you have high blood pressure, the missing link might be that you just don't have enough nitric oxide. And by taking a nitric oxide supplement, it opens up the blood vessels. Most of my patients who have high blood pressure report back to me saying, Dr. Joe, it's like a miracle. My blood pressure is normal again. I went to my doctor. He says, oh, we can reduce your medication, eliminate your medication. It's pretty cool. So all the supplements we talk about, by the way, are on the website, drjoe.com. It's in the store section, which is right up top. Click on that, and you can see all the supplements we have. My top favorite supplements are Dr. Joe's Super Greens and Dr. Joe's Essential Source. They're 2 powders. They taste great. We just had a shipment of Essential Source come in, and it's in the wrong size container. It's Dr. Joe's. It's a little different flavor, too. It's still very high quality, but we're giving you a 10% discount on that because we realized the manufacturer screwed up. So we're willing to give you a 10% discount. But now we have peach mango flavored Essential Source. We have berry flavored Super Greens. We're really making it so that you feel more comfortable taking different supplements. Not everybody likes the same supplement. Here's the peach mango, by the way. I have it in my hand here. Not everybody likes the same flavor. So we have different flavors. Try different flavors. Find out what works for you. It's still Dr. Joe's quality products, but we're realizing that we have to make it customer friendly. And so that's why the berry Super Greens, by the way, is awesome. Has a great flavor to it. We have mint, we have berry, and we have plain. I find the plain very boring, to be honest with you, and I invented it. I like the berry and the mango just because it has more flavor to it. But try it. See what you like. Whatever works best for you. The nitric oxide opens up the blood vessels. Minimum supplements, I would say, Super Green, Essential Source, B Complex, and vitamin D3. Those are all on the website. We have a new men's hormone support and women's hormone support. Huge. I'm so excited because it helps not only balance hormones, it can increase libido, increase function when it comes to romance. So it's really got a lot of bang for your buck there. So those are on the website too, men's and women's hormone support. I recommend you take them. I do, and I'm very happy with them. It took me a while to formulate it and get a manufacturer to make it the way I wanted, but I'm thrilled with it because it just gives you energy. It makes you feel young again. Now, you're not going to be like you're 16 again, but it really helps. So all the supplements are on the website, drjoe.com. If you have any questions, you can always email me through the website. Happy to answer them. I take Wellness Booster every day in the winter, keeps my immune system strong. If I do have an infection coming on, I'll take Dr. Joe Seasonal Tonic. And those, by the way, those are very, very strong flavors. They're liquids. They're very strong flavors. So prepare yourself. Don't say I didn't tell you. They're very strong, but they're very effective. So I just dilute it with water, chug it right down. Many times I'll take it because it's so strong and then drink Super Greens and Essential Source after it. But certainly Super Greens and Essential Source if you're not willing to do anything else. But invest in your health, folks. And if you look at pricing, people said something about our pricing. And somebody sent me a message and said, I don't believe that your products are any good. I said, why? They said they're about half the price of everybody else on the market. We do that because I'm trying to make it available to everyone. Sam Walton started Walmart. His theory was if I can sell things at a reasonable price, I can sell a lot more of them. And it worked for him. And we're not trying to gouge you with supplements. We're trying to get the quality products into you. So drjoe.com. And again, any questions, just send it to me. So sugar can raise your blood vessels because the blood vessels become, sugar can raise your blood pressure because the blood vessels become less flexible. And sugar is also very dangerous because it's an acid. And when you have acids in your blood, they irritate the artery walls. And your body has to lay down cholesterol as a scab, essentially. So when you start seeing hardened arteries, many times it's because the cholesterol oxidized, and it oxidized because there was toxins in there. In the blood, and it irritated the artery walls. Now, you can lower your cholesterol levels by lowering something called homocysteine. Homocysteine is an amino acid that irritates the artery walls and causes the cholesterol to lay down there to protect that area, that irritated area. So how do you lower homocysteine? Taking B vitamins, specifically B6, but B12 also helps as well. That's why I recommend Dr. Joe's B Complex. See, I could spend an hour or two on each one of the supplements. I don't want to do that. I want to give you more information. But trust me, Super Green Essential Source, B Complex, vitamin D, nitric oxide for circulation, sexual brain function. Don't take it if you have low blood pressure. The men's and women's hormone support now. Very, very excited that this new product is out. There's an intestinal formula. If you're constipated, take the intestinal formula. It's the only supplement I don't want you taking all the time. I want to get the bowels moving and then have you come off it. But we have so many other supplements, drjoe.com. If you have any questions, again, just send it to me. So we're talking today about what sugar does to your body. And it can raise your cholesterol because we said that. What happens is the fructose converts to glucose, creates uric acid. Uric acid gets in your joints and it hurts. And uric acid lowers your nitric oxide production. And then too much sugar converts into triglycerides, which gets stored as fat. And that can raise your bad cholesterol. So I've just realized I got to go to break, folks. Gosh, I got so much to cover. If you have any questions, send them to me through the website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Happy to answer your questions for you. Follow me on social media, Dr. Joe, Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. If you're a podcast junkie, which I think a lot of you are, it's Dr. Joe for the health of it. Dr. Joe for the health of it. And we have so many podcast archives. You can just sit there and listen. A lot of people do that on my website, drjoe.com. If you go under education, it says podcast. You can listen to all our archive shows as well. There's so many different ways to get the information to help get you well and keep you well. Again, the website, drjoe.com. Folks, I'm Dr. Joe Esposito. Don't go anywhere. We're going to be right back. I stepped on my shoelace halfway through, and I've been trying not to have my shoe fall off. So you can ask me questions while I tie my shoe. What's your questions?
Does snacking on walnuts, not as a meal, increase your blood sugar?
Not really. No, it's high in fiber, it's high in protein, high in omega-3 fatty acids, ALA. So it's not going to spike your blood sugar. No, you're good there. What else?
I only take a couple of sips of water in the morning for my medication, but I still have to go to the bathroom every 30 minutes throughout most of the day. Is this my prostate? What can be done?
It could be the prostate. If the prostate swells, it puts pressure on the bladder, and so it kind of makes you have to go more. When you were young, the prostate was small, hold a lot of urine. I remember, coming home from high school, drinking, all night, sleeping for like 8 hours, and then going to pee and just peeing for like what seemed like for eternity. Why? Bladder was healthy, no prostate. So it sounds like it could be a prostate issue. Go to my website, drjoe.com, and type men's health or men's health issues in the search bar. We'll talk about that and what to do about it. So, what else?
Why can women have more sugar than men?
No, it's the other way around. I'm sorry. If I said it that way, men can have 9 grams, women can have 6. If I said it backwards, I apologize. That was my bad.
Which foods have the most B vitamins?
Well, if you nutritional yeast would have the most B vitamins, actually. So I love nutritional yeast. That has a nice savory flavor. It doesn't have B12 in it. Many times it's fortified with B12, but I love nutritional yeast. You want to use maybe a teaspoon or two on a salad and soups. You can sprinkle it on popcorn. If you're making a gravy, it adds a nice, rich, savory flavor to it. So that would be the highest food in B vitamins. Now, you can get it from fruits and vegetables as well, but you asked what was the most. So there's your answer. John has more questions for me.
That is all.
Oh, man, I thought John had more for me. All right, folks. Make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. This is very important. I give you all this information. Happy to answer your questions for you through the website, here live. But please follow me on all social media platforms. That's your kind of payment to me so we can get more followers and we can build it. Oh. All right, I think we're ready for part 2. There you go. So efficient, that John. You never see John. You just hear his voice, right? It's a mystery. You can write in it. What do you think John looks like? Okay, ready? Hey, folks, Dr. Joe Esposito here. If you stayed with me, thank you. If you're just joining us, welcome. I'm glad you could be here. What we're talking about today is how sugar harms your body. And one of the things that can happen, and I'll tell you a little story. When I was in college, one of the things we did, a lot of classes, of course, one of the classes was dissecting cadavers. We had to cut open dead people. And it really was the reason I came to Georgia, because there was a college in New York I was considering, but they only dissected monkeys at the time. And I wanted to see a human. If I'm going to work on a human, I want to see what was in there. And so I came to Georgia, went to school, and still here. And one of the things we did, they'd cut open to people and say, "What's this?" And I remember one guy was a smoker, and his lung was so much smaller than everybody else's. Your lung runs from about your shoulder all the way down to the bottom of your ribs. It's a big organ. And this guy's lung was like the size of my fist. And it was black. And when we sliced open the lung, you could touch it, and it actually felt like tar. I grew up in the streets of New Jersey, so we would play on tar. Tar was in the street, and the sun would hit it with bubble. We'd pop the tar bubbles, and if water got underneath it, it was actually an extra bonus. But if you got tar on your clothes, it didn't come out very easily. And you got it on your skin, it was hard to get off. So it felt like the tar in the streets. And I remember thinking, boy, I wish I could just carry this metaphor, not really carry it with me, but carry it with me and show people this lung and say, this is what's happening when you're smoking. And I always thought, boy, that would cure almost anybody, I think. So it was interesting to see that. And one of the things we did when we cut open our cadavers was we dissected open the liver. And one of the livers, it actually looked like a steak, a really fatty steak. The marbling it's called. And that was fatty liver. And I'd never seen it or really heard much about it before up to this point in my life. And we were taught that if you have fatty liver, it was from alcohol. That was it. That was the answer. Fatty liver, alcohol abuse, done. You put that on the test, you got an A. Well, it turns out now that there's something called non-alcoholic fatty liver. Wait a minute. How can I get non-alcoholic fatty liver? I'm getting fatty liver if I'm not drinking? Well, we're actually finding that children, sometimes as young as 5, can get non-alcoholic fatty liver. This was shocking. And how is this happening? A lot of packaged food, snacks, drinks, they're sweetened with fructose. And if you listened earlier, fructose has to be converted into glucose in the liver in order to be usable. And what happens is your liver, when you're converting it, it creates fat. And these little fat drops kind of build up in the liver. It's not alcoholic fatty liver. So early changes can be reversed. But over time, swelling and scarring from this fatty liver can actually be permanent. So if you're eating a lot of sugar, specifically fructose, and again, table sugar is 50% fructose, 50% glucose. High fructose corn syrup, 55% fructose, 45% glucose. Not that much of a difference. But the high fructose corn syrup has such a dramatic impact, negative impact, on the liver. So we want to stay away from high fructose corn syrup. Now, years ago, in my healthy living world, I was introduced to something called agave nectar. And agave nectar was going to be the greatest thing in the world. It didn't spike your blood sugar. It was sweet. It was amazing. So I tried it, and it was sweet, and it tasted fine, and I liked it, and I started using it. And then I thought to myself one day, wait a minute, how can this taste sweet and not spike my blood sugar? Didn't make sense to me. So I did a little research, and it turns out that high fructose corn syrup is 55% fructose. That's really bad. Agave nectar is about 85% fructose, much higher levels. So the question comes up, why wasn't it spiking people's blood sugar? Because the fructose has to be converted into glucose. That's what spikes your blood sugar, is the glucose. So it wasn't spiking your blood sugar right then. It was spiking your blood sugar later. And it was so much worse than high fructose corn syrup. So even though agave nectar is healthy, so to speak, and it's organic and it's natural, I don't want you using it. It can do more damage to your liver and your blood sugar than high fructose corn syrup. And you know high fructose corn syrup is bad. Now, one of the other things that's bad about high fructose corn syrup, it's usually made from genetically modified corn, and that's a whole nother lecture in itself. And glyphosate, which is sprayed on it, which can be toxic, whole nother lecture in itself. But I really want you to stay away from the high fructose corn syrup, and I really want you to stay away from the agave nectar because they can cause real serious problems, and it can build up fat in your liver. And once the liver is fatty, a couple of things happen. Number one, it can get bigger. Number two, it can affect blood flow. Your liver is a filter, and blood is constantly flowing through the liver, getting filtered, going back into the body. If the filter gets clogged up, it can put back pressure and actually raise your blood pressure mechanically. But that liver, if it's all clogged up, can't do its job now. And the liver does a lot of different jobs. Now, the good news about liver is this. It's the fastest healing organ in the body. I can remove about 70% of your liver, and you'll grow it back. But once the liver gets clogged up and scarred, sometimes it can't heal. Scar tissue literally forms in the liver. So I really want you to consider staying away from the sugars because it's doing so much liver damage. Same thing with alcohol. Alcohol is a sugar, and it can cause liver damage. So I know you're thinking to yourself, Dr. Joe, you're no fun. You're taking all my fun stuff away. It's not worth it. So my rule is this. Do 80% of what I say. The other 20% I'll let you play around with. How about that? 80-20 rule. Now, what happens is as you start to get healthier, as you start to eat more of the fruits, vegetables, nuts, and seeds, more plant-based, you start staying away from the alcohol, meat, sugar, dairy, coffee, soda, artificial sweetener, breads, cookies, cakes, donuts, pastas, and you start to wean them out of your life and putting in the good food, you're going to feel so good that you're not going to want to go back. And you'll cheat. Everybody cheats. And when you cheat, you're going to feel awful. And then you're going to say, it's not worth it. And I love when patients get to that level. I got to that level. And every now and then, if I cheat, I feel terrible. Now, I don't eat any animal products. That's not something I'll cheat with. But if I have, in fact, I was at a party the other day, and it was at a Mexican restaurant, and they had guacamole, which was good. but had a lot of garlic and onions in it. And it was a small party, and it was very loud, and I didn't want to eat garlic and onions to breathe on people. They had chips, which of course are acrylamides because the crunchiness is acrylamides, which can lead to cancer. And it's genetically modified corn and high in sugar, so I didn't eat those. And they had cheese quesadillas, didn't eat those. And they had meat taquitos, and I didn't eat those. So I didn't eat much. So one of my friends brings me over a non-alcoholic mojito. Okay, it's made with mint. Now, it has sugar in it. But I was sitting there, and I didn't want to make a big deal out of it because it wasn't about me and it wasn't about nutrition that day. So I held a non-alcoholic mojito, and I tasted it, and it tasted really good. And I drank a little bit of it, maybe a quarter of it, just to be social. And I stopped drinking it. And then I noticed they were making it on the bar, and they were using agave nectar in it. And I thought, man, this really stinks. And so I don't know, it was full of ice, so I don't know, maybe 3 sips is what I had, 3 strawfuls. And the next day, I noticed a difference. I just didn't have as much energy as I usually do. Now, I still felt good, but I just wasn't on top of my game. And I thought to myself, so many people at this party were drinking alcoholic mojitos and margaritas. Why? It was free. It was open bar. It was free. Somebody else was paying. Just because something is free, I don't want you to think you should do it. Don't give in to that. So if you cheat, you'll feel awful. I didn't feel awful. I just felt under less than perfect. And then you'll say, Dr. Joe was right. So I really want you to stay away from that sugar. Another thing that it can do, of course, is cavities. Sugar can lead to cavities because the sugar gets in your mouth, and then the bacteria live on that, and it can eat away. The bacteria start to eat away at your teeth. Now, some of you, and if a lot of you actually, have something called gum disease. Now, it's not really a disease. I guess it could be a disease. There's an inflammation of the gums. So if your gums hurt, if it bleed when you floss, bad breath, it could be gum disease. Get yourself to a dentist. You may need what's called a deep cleaning. You can do a regular cleaning, and I'll be honest with you. I went to my dentist not long ago, one dentist I usually go to, and he didn't look at me really. He sent somebody else in, and the tech said, okay, we're just going to do a cleaning, bop, 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 and I was done. Well, I had this one area in the top part of my right mouth, and it was still inflamed. So I went to another dentist friend of mine, and he says, you've got some very deep pockets, some plaque building up on your teeth, and the gums are all inflamed. He says, you're going to need a deep cleaning. He says, we're going to numb your gums up when we do it because it hurts really bad. And so if you don't maintain things properly or go to the right doctors, these things can happen. And that's what happened. I went to one dentist who said it's no big deal. I should do a regular cleaning, when in reality I needed more. So when it comes to patient care, that's what we do here. We always say, what does the patient need? What's going to be the best course of treatment for this patient? Is it chiropractic? Is it working on the digestive system? Is it nutrition? Is it supplements? Is it dietary changes? Is it coaching? Whatever it is. But here's the kicker. Chiropractic care is the most effective, least expensive treatment for back pain. And generally speaking, of course, not for everybody. So why wouldn't you do the most effective, least expensive treatment? I was willing to go and get deeper cleaning, more expensive, because I want the best when it comes to healthcare. And so with chiropractic care, you get the best for the least amount of money when it comes to back pain. So if you have pain, make an appointment to come see us. We have offices in Marietta, Duluth, Stockbridge, and West Cobb. I'd love to be your doctor. Normally, the first visit is $940. I've reduced that to $299 for you, my listeners. Exam, x-rays, consultation, first treatment, going over the x-rays, and a complete nutrition evaluation. Because I want to fix you physically and chemically. And let's do everything we can to try to get to the cause of your healthcare problems. Stop suffering needlessly. And maybe you've been to other chiropractors. Maybe you've been to orthopedists, neurologists, neurosurgeons. I don't know. There's good doctors and there's bad doctors. We like to consider ourselves part of the good guys. So, drjoe.com. We'd love to take you, if we can, take you on as a patient and help you out. So we're talking today about sugar and the harm that it does. And it can affect your sleep because it can mess with your blood sugar levels. And that can create energy rush and then a spike and then a crash. And when you crash, you're exhausted. How many people get tired in the middle of the morning? Well, you probably had the typical American breakfast. Donuts and cereal and milk. Milk has lactose in it, which is a sugar, by the way. And orange juice, horrible. Eating a whole orange, fine. Eating orange juice, we talked about that earlier, spikes your blood sugar. And you can struggle trying to stay awake during the day. You may doze off in class. I remember when I was in college, I guess I was 19 years old, and it was a Mexican restaurant. What was the name of it? Can't remember it now. And anyway, they had a lunch, and the lunch was like $2.99. And you got a chalupa, an enchilada, and a burrito, and of course chips. And this is when I was not enlightened when it came to healthcare. So I'd go there and I'd eat as much as I could. Bring me the cheese, bring me the food, and bring me baskets of chips. I want to eat as many chips as I can because I was poor, and I was going to get my money's worth. I'd go back to class and fall asleep. So how much was that free lunch costing? An awful lot. The sugar from the chips, the corn. Back then, it probably wasn't genetically modified food, but it was fried, which creates acrylamides, which are related to cancer. I ate too much of it. The cheese was not good for me. And after a couple of times doing it, I thought, wait a minute, I'm saving money on lunch, but it's costing me a lot more money in education because I'm paying a lot of money for my education. And I stopped doing it. So I want you to think about that. Is it worth it? If you're going to eat sugar, you're going to have cookies and cakes and donuts, whatever, and then crash at 9 or 10 o'clock in the afternoon, or morning now, and then have coffee to try to keep you awake, and then have lunch, and then crash again at 3 o'clock and have to have coffee again, and now you're exhausted all day. You try to go to bed. Your body isn't having its highs and lows. Cortisol should raise in the morning, drop at night. That's why you go to sleep. But your cortisol level is crashing. You're just not getting the good night's sleep. And if you eat something like a bowl of ice cream before bed, you're going to get that sugar crash, the sugar spike, and then the crash, and you're going to feel awful. So it's not worth it. Sleep is when the body heals. And I want you to think of how precious that time is when you're able to sleep. Now, some of you can't sleep. Some of you may have sleep apnea. How many people have sleep apnea? Raise your hands. A lot of you do. Sleep apnea many times is due to a pinched nerve. There's a nerve in the neck called the phrenic nerve. It comes out of your fourth cervical vertebrae, controls your diaphragm. If you pinch the phrenic nerve, it can affect how the diaphragm goes up and down. It can affect how you breathe. If your stomach is pushed up against your diaphragm, you might have heartburn, acid reflux, bad breath, burping, gas, bloating. We can physically adjust or pull the stomach away from the diaphragm in many cases, allowing the diaphragm to start breathing again, and the sleep apnea goes away. And many times with sleep apnea, you have high blood pressure. Because the same nerve that controls your digestive system, called the vagus nerve, also controls your heart. And if the vagus nerve is irritated, it can cause the heart to beat faster or harder than it's supposed to, and that can raise your blood pressure. So in many cases with sleep apnea and high blood pressure, we need to physically pull the stomach away from the diaphragm to take the stress off the vagus nerve so that the body can essentially reset itself. And the vagus nerve is so important. It's what we call a parasympathetic nerve. It calms down the body. But here's the thing. Your digestive system produces hormones and chemicals. One of them is called serotonin. Serotonin helps you sleep. A little bit of serotonin, tiny bit, is made in the brain. The rest of it is made in the digestive system. And it can get into your brain via it can travel up the vagus nerve. It can get into your blood system and get into the brain. Serotonin calms you down, helps you focus. Serotonin becomes melatonin, which helps you sleep. So many times if you have sleep issues, it's because of a bad gut. Why do you have a bad gut? Because you ate too much sugar, which killed off the good bacteria and grew a lot more yeast, which can compete with the good bacteria. And so you have a yeast overgrowth affecting the colon, affecting your body's ability to produce serotonin. Serotonin goes to the pineal gland, creates melatonin, and helps you sleep. So sugar is bad for so many different reasons, including how it affects your serotonin production, because it affects what's called the microbiome. I saw a study just recently. I'm going to go off on a tangent here, microbiome. And it was on fecal transplants on people with Alzheimer's. And there's research going on right now, and there are studies, it's still early on, where we can take healthy bacteria from somebody's colon and put it in somebody who starts to have dementia or Alzheimer's, a form of dementia, and they see improvement in brain function. All they're doing is taking the bacteria from a healthy person and putting it in a sick person. And we've done this for weight loss. We've done this for immune issues. Not we, I haven't, but other people have. We're seeing it for Alzheimer's now. So why is the bacteria in your colon so bad? What changes your bacteria? A lot of it has to do with eating too much sugar. It's affecting the microbiome. it might affect people with ADD and ADHD because there's still research going on. But I remember being in college and reading a book that said sugar has no effect on children. It does not create hyperactivity. It does not affect their ability to focus. It doesn't work. How many of you have ever been around kids that just ate a bunch of sugar? Now, maybe you're not a researcher. Maybe you're not a scientist, but you're alive and you're human. And you know that when kids eat too much sugar, they go crazy. Absolutely. And so it can affect your ability to focus. And it certainly can affect your moods. Studies show there's a link between sugar and mental health. One of the latest showed men who ate more than 66 grams of sugar a day. Remember, you're not supposed to eat that much. That's about double what's recommended. Were 23% more likely to be diagnosed with anxiety and depression than men who ate less than 40 grams of sugar a day. Now, that might be a systemic issue. What I mean by that is if you're eating a lot of sugar, you might be doing other unhealthy things as well. But I know in my day when I ate too much sugar, I felt awful. We know when you see kids running around, they get crazy if they eat too much sugar. And you probably can say to yourself too, if I eat too much sugar, I don't feel good. So it can affect blood sugar levels, affect the insulin, create insulin resistance. It can cause fatty liver. Liver can't do its job, raise your cholesterol levels. And it can, of course, cause you to gain weight. We talked about that whole process earlier too. And so sugar can affect your moods. And that's why I work very closely with a lot of people in the mental health industry. Because many times they'll do a lot of counseling, they'll give them medications, but no one's ever done a nutrition workup with these patients. I was at an event the other day, and there was a fellow named Stevie. I won't say his last name. And he works for a behavioral science group. And we just started chatting, and I started telling what I did, and I started explaining how the digestive system and the microbiome affects the serotonin and the brain function. And he just stood there staring at me. He said, I've always known there was a connection. But in 5 minutes, you've explained it to me better than anyone else ever has. He says, I want to get together with you, and I want to start working for the benefit of our patients. And I said, yes. So when doctors and researchers all start to agree on the same thing, maybe there's something to it. And another thing that can affect is gout. I work at a radio station, and one of the people I work with, who's very famous, has gout and eats a lot of sugar, processed foods. And so when you eat sugar, if you remember, I said if you eat something called fructose has to convert into glucose in the liver, and glucose is the fuel your body uses. But in the process of converting glucose into fructose, you create something called uric acid. Uric acid gets in your joints and it hurts. And if it builds up in your joints, it can cause gout. So we know that meat, purines, can actually raise your uric acid levels. But I've yet to hear anyone, except for myself, talk about fructose raising uric acid levels and getting in the joints and it hurts. Now, I've been treating pain management patients for 40 years. I'm board certified in pain management. I'm board certified in non-surgical orthopedics, board certified in chiropractic, double board certified in nutrition, certified in traumatic brain injury. And in all my degrees that I have, very seldom is nutrition ever discussed as a way to get the body healthy, and in this case, the old pain management. I do a whole 3-hour class, that I teach for doctors on nutrition and pain management. No, 4-hour class. It's a 4-hour class. A 4-hour class on nutrition and pain management. And inevitably, the doctors sit in the audience and they go, I've never thought of it like that before. That's incredible. You're absolutely right. Everything you say is absolutely right. So I want you to consider what you're doing. I mean, it can increase your risk of kidney stones. It can speed up the aging process. Sugary drinks can actually alter your DNA. And when sugar attaches to protein, it creates something called advanced glycated end products, AGE. It's kind of funny. It ages you. Advanced glycated end products, and it can get into your cartilage, your connective tissue, and eat away at your connective tissue and create wrinkles and make you look so much older. So you have to ask yourself, right, Clint Eastwood, you have to ask yourself something. How many shots, in all the excitement, how many shots did I fire? Do you feel lucky, punk? So do you feel lucky, punk? Do you feel lucky eating sugar and thinking it's not going to affect your blood sugar? It's not going to affect your pancreas. It's not going to affect your liver. It's not going to affect your aging process. It's not going to affect your brain, increase your risk of dementia, swell your prostate, get in your joints and create pain. You feel lucky eating that sugar? And if you do, I want you to keep eating it. I'm being facetious, of course. I really want you to cut out the sugar. So what can we do about it? When you have sugar cravings, real quick, I'm almost out of time. Dill pickles. Whenever you have a sugar craving, eat some dill pickles. See if the craving goes away. It usually does. When you have sugar cravings, eat something sour, garlicky. That works. Vinegar works real well. There's supplements. I have a supplement I'm creating. It'll be on the website pretty soon that stabilizes blood sugar. It's called berberine. And I'm creating a berberine supplement for you, my patients, and you, my listeners, to help stabilize blood sugar. I take berberine every day. This way I don't have crashes throughout the day. I have steady energy throughout the day. And so I'm working on creating one that meets all my standards. I want to make sure it has everything in it, and that's going to come out pretty soon too. So for 40 years, I've been working really hard to get you guys well. And people say, well, you've been doing radio now for, 15 years? I've been doing lectures for 40 years. Don't you ever run out of content? And my answer is no. I probably have 30 lectures in a little bag that I carry around with me. I'm ready to give at any time. 30 regular radio shows and podcasts. So if you like what you're hearing, go to my website, drjoe.com, drjoe.com. Book an appointment to come see us. The supplements we talked about, Super Greens, Essential Source, Nitric Oxide, B Complex, Vitamin D. That's like the beginning starter kit. Get those. Start taking them. At least take Super Greens and Essential Source. We now have Peach Mango. We have flavored Super Greens. If you tried it in the past, maybe you didn't like it. Now we have different flavors. Try the different flavors. I like mint. Try the different flavors. Make sure you're getting your vitamin D with K2, 10 drops a day. B Complex, because you pee out most of your B vitamins every day. If you have normal or high blood pressure, take the nitric oxide. Men's hormone support, women's hormone support. Get that energy back. And there's other supplements as well. I don't have time to go into them. But if you want to make an appointment, if you have any questions, drjoe.com. Follow me on social media, Dr. Joe Esposito. Facebook is the Dr. Joe Esposito. The podcast is Dr. Joe for the Health of It. I want to be your doctor. I want to get you well and keep you well. Thanks for tuning in, folks. I'll catch you next time. I had 2 more articles I didn't cover. I need more time, John. Make that happen.
Well, we did talk about a 4-hour podcast a few weeks ago.
That's true. Easily can do a 4-hour podcast. All right, what do you got for me?
Do you have any advice or a video on neuropathy? Would nitric oxide be good? My mom is 82 and I'm asking for her.
Okay, asking for a friend, right? I would do anything for moms. Neuropathy can be a couple of different things. Number one, it could be diabetic neuropathy, and then you want to listen to the show we did on diabetes. That's pretty simple. Neuropathy oftentimes is a pinched nerve in the low back. If it's going into your legs or in your hands, it could be a pinched nerve in the neck. So when I see neuropathy patients, I always check the nerve supply first, because that's an easy fix. Then we want to get them on, if it's diabetic neuropathy, we'll get them on a diabetes protocol, which is on the website, drjoe.com. Just look under diabetes. And then I do put them on nitric oxide and B Complex and Super Greens and Essential Source. So that would be the protocol for that for the neuropathy. But if you can get her in to come see us, that would be the best thing. But if you can't, Super Green, Essential Source, B Complex, and nitric oxide. Don't give it to her if she has low blood pressure. Nitric oxide only if it's high or normal. What else?
I usually bake meals at about 400 degrees. Should I cook with coconut oil?
Yes. Oh, absolutely. If cooking at 400 degrees, coconut oil is the safe one, yeah. Avocado oil, probably okay as well, but not olive oil. Yeah, don't cook that high with olive oil. So, organic extra virgin coconut oil too, by the way. That's the good ones. What else you got?
What can I eat to fall asleep more quickly?
You just listen to my podcast. No. So, put you right to sleep. You want to not eat anything for about 4 hours before you go to bed. And that alone is going to help tremendously with your sleep. And then also, my personal issue is if I go to bed too early. Like if I get home and I'm all caught up and I'm just exhausted, I'm just going to sit down, watch TV, 8 o'clock at night, I fall immediately asleep. I then wake up at 2 o'clock in the morning and I don't get a good night's sleep. So you got to find out what your sweet spot is on when you go to bed to see how long you can sleep. But if you can fast at least 4 hours before you go to bed, chances are you're going to sleep very well. So it's not necessarily taking something, it's fixing the problem. So try that. If it doesn't work, send me an email. I'll give you some more advice.
I've heard that 85% of cholesterol comes from your liver and only 15% comes from diet. Is that true?
Yes, that is correct. However, your diet can adversely affect your liver. So that's where they kind of stop the statement there. I'm not a fan of eating animal products. If you're going to eat animal products, please do organic only, because cholesterol is just a piece of the puzzle. The steroids, chemicals, hormones, antibiotics, genetically modified food, glyphosate, how the animals were raised, how were they treated, were they stressed out when they were slaughtered, how was the meat handled after the animal was slaughtered. So, yes, you're absolutely correct. Diet does not contribute that much to your cholesterol, but it can affect your liver, which can then affect your cholesterol. So, you're right. What else?
What are the best fruits to incorporate into my diet?
All of them. They're all good. I like papayas. I love papaya. Papaya has bromelain in it. Pineapple can irritate the lining of your mouth, but it has bromelain in it as well. Organic apples are great. They're high in quercetin, which can help for allergies. Organic apples only. Oranges are wonderful. They're all good. I can't think of a best one, to be honest with you. I don't know. I wish I had a good one. Citrulline is in watermelon. Opens up your blood vessels, increases circulation. It's a lot of water, hydrates the body. Peaches are great, but they're many times sprayed. There's something called the dirty dozen. Peaches are one of them. Strawberries are one of them. That's why you want to eat those organic. Berries are one of them. Berries are great, low in sugar, so I can't give you a favorite. It's a Sophie's choice, and I don't have an answer for that one. So, what else?
Is there any correlation between our health and our dreams?
Yes, as a matter of fact, there is. I find that too. When you're unhealthy, if you're sick, of course, you're going to not sleep as well, and that can affect your dreams. But there has been a study shown correlating. I can't remember where I read them, so don't ask me to quote it. But yes, unhealthy people have much weirder dreams, and healthy people usually have very peaceful dreams. So do it. Get healthy for many reasons. What else?
That is all.
You guys are awesome. Thanks so much. I appreciate it. Make sure you follow me on all platforms. Remember that. That's your homework assignment. And send me a question through the website, drjoe.com. I hope to see each and every